The story of the ancient Near East is often told through the rise and fall of great empires: Akkad, Assyria, Babylon, Urartu. Yet hidden in the shadows of these empires are smaller peoples, the mountain tribes of the Caucasus, who played a crucial role in shaping the destiny of the region. Among them were the Proto-Georgians, the early ancestors of the Georgian people. In the annals of Tiglath-Pileser I, the powerful Assyrian king of the 12th–11th centuries BC, we find the first references to northern tribes that scholars identify as early Georgian-speaking groups. This episode not only highlights the expansionist ambitions of Assyria, but also places the Proto-Georgians on the stage of world history. Tiglath-Pileser I reigned from 1114 to 1076 BC, at the height of Assyria's first great imperial expansion. Known for his campaigns stretching from the Mediterranean to the Armenian highlands, Tiglath-Pileser recorded his victories in royal inscriptions that remained among the most detailed of the early first millennium BC. According to Russian professor Diakonov, in his book The Prehistory of the Armenian People, the northern campaigns of Tiglath-Pileser represent one of the earliest historical contacts between the Assyrian Empire and the highland peoples of the Caucasus. The inscriptions mention groups such as the Nairi and Mushki, who are believed to have lived in close proximity to Proto-Georgian tribes. The term Proto-Georgian refers to the early speakers of Georgian or Kartvelian languages, the linguistic ancestors of modern Georgian, Megrelian, Laz, and Svan. According to Georgian scholar Gamkrelidze and his Russian mate Ivanov, in their book Indo-European and Indo-Europeans, the Kartvelian languages form one of the most ancient and independent branches of the Eurasian linguistic family. They are neither Indo-European nor Semitic but represent a unique survival from deep prehistory. Archaeological evidence from the Late Bronze Age and Early Iron Age, as discussed by Georgian scholar Otar Lortkipanidze in his book Ancient Georgia, shows that tribal confederations were already forming in Caucasus and Iberia. Tiglath-Pileser I describes in his annals campaigns against the lands of Nairi, a loose confederation of about 23 small states in the Armenian highlands. These campaigns brought Assyrian armies into direct contact with the mountainous regions bordering the Caucasus. According to Trevor Bryce, in his book The World of the Neo-Hittite Kingdoms, the Nairi lands acted as a buffer between Mesopotamia and the Caucasian tribes. Many scholars, including Ronald Sunny, argue that some of these northern tribes mentioned by Tiglath-Pileser could include Proto-Georgians living in the southern Caucasus. The Assyrian texts describe first resistance from the highlanders. Unlike the cities of Mesopotamia, these tribes relied on fortresses hidden in mountains and guerrilla-style warfare. This resistance foreshadows the later history of the Caucasus, where small peoples often fought successfully against much larger empires. One of the most debated identifications in Tiglath-Pileser's inscriptions is the Mushki. Some scholars, such as Cyrus Gordon, in his studies on Near Eastern ethnography, argued that the Mushki might be connected to early Proto-Armenians. Others, however, see in them a group closely related to early Georgians. Robert W. Thompson, a specialist in Caucasian history, emphasizes that while the identity of the Mushki remains disputed, there is growing evidence that Georgian tribes were already well established in the southern Caucasus by this time. The uniqueness of the Kartvelian languages provides strong evidence for the antiquity of the Georgian ethnos. According to Gamkrelidze and Ivanov, the Kartvelian linguistic group shows deep structural differences from both Indo-European and Semitic, suggesting that it represents a survival of one of the earliest linguistic strata of the Near East. Thus, when Tiglath-Pileser I describes his wars against the northern mountain peoples, it is likely that among them were speakers of this ancient language family, a people who would later give rise to Georgia. The wars of Tiglath-Pileser I remind us that the Caucasus was never isolated. As Diakonov noted, the Caucasus acted as a bridge between Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and the steppe. The encounters between Assyrians and Proto-Georgians were part of a broader web of cultural and political interactions that shaped the ancient world. Archaeological findings such as the Trialectic culture burials studied by Tiglath-Pileser reveal a sophisticated society in Georgia already in the 2nd millennium BC. This suggests that when Assyrian armies marched north, they were not facing barbarians, but organized tribal confederations with their own traditions, metallurgy, and social structures. Tiglath-Pileser I's wars against the highland tribes mark the first recorded clash between Mesopotamian imperial power and the ancestors of the Georgian people. Through the testimony of Assyrian inscriptions, supported by the work of scholars like Diakonov, Gamkrelidze, Ivanov, Suni, Gordon, Tiglath-Pileser, Thompson, and others, we can reconstruct this forgotten chapter of history. For Georgia, this is not just an ancient memory, but the beginning of its historical journey. The Proto-Georgians stood their ground against one of the most powerful kings of the ancient Near East. Their resistance was the first step in a long story of survival, a story that would see Georgia emerge as one of the oldest continuous civilizations in the world. Thank you for joining us on this forgotten journey into the ancient past. If you enjoyed uncovering the clash between Assyrians and the Proto-Georgians, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more hidden chapters of history. See you in the next episode.